Mark, how are you?
Always better to see you, Steve. Always better.
Of course you are. Why would you not be? That's what I would say. I mean, how could you not be?
Yes, I'm just being polite.
Oh, right, okay. And I thought you were being genuine.
I'm always genuinely polite.
Yeah, something like that. So, what are we talking about? What did you want to chat about?
Don't put that in.
This is where I put the foghorn going.
Okay, so I'll introduce it then. So, Royal Navy, we went some beautiful places.
Yeah.
And despite the fact that you could say we went to certain ports, we probably went to places we could never remember where they were, but we had to run ashore, and they were called Banyans. I have no idea where the word comes from, apart from the banyan tree. Could you remember some of the places roughly and some of the banyans you had?
Really difficult, isn't it? Because they were just like lumps of rock in the middle of nowhere, and you'd anchor off, you'd take a Liberty boat in, and you'd hang out on a beach, do a barbecue, and there was nobody else within sight or sound of you. I think the only ones that I think I did a couple when we were out the Gulf, and they were off somewhere around the Muscat region of Oman. Now, I don't know if they were part of the main sort of land or whether they were just sort of rocky outcrops, because it was literally just barren pieces of forbidden rock in a bay. I do remember diving round there, tank diving, and coming across some very, very funky, like sea snaky type things, which scared the crap out of me, and so I sort of got out of the water a bit swift. But I don't know what the actual locations were, other than they were in the region of Muscat, Oman.
I had one there.
What about you?
Yeah, I had one there, exactly the same, and that was on the Aurora. And I remember it's extremely prickly heaty kind of weather. Hot.
Yeah.
Wasn't pleasant, it was very barren, but you get the boat ashore. That would have been my first one, and I don't really remember much. 3 or 4 others I really remember better. But yeah, because you're off that coast, well, regularly, weren't you? 5 times at least for me. And by the way, Banyan comes from the 18th century. I'm reading this from a website. The British Navy denied its sailors meat on Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays, and these were known as Banyan days because of a East Indian sect at the Raj who neither killed or ate meat. They were called the Banyans.
So what's that got to do with having to run ashore in the middle of an outcrop in the middle of nowhere?
Don't know. Perhaps the first time they went ashore they didn't have any meat and they called it a banyan.
Really? That's a bit weird, isn't it?
Someone will probably say you're talking the usual, Mark, but that's what's written down, so it's in black and white. It's got to be true.
Is it like the Pusser's Guide to Andrew's slang?
No.
Because they really do need a bit of that.
It's wiki crappier.
You're just taking... Wiki crappier. Yeah, it's funny though, isn't it? Because you pick up these words and they become part of your regular sort of vernacular.
You were endemic with the words. You couldn't get enough of them. I remember now.
Yeah.
You loved the Andrew.
Oh, I loved it so much. But you do, don't you? You know, Dobie Wallers and Gully Man and
Foo-foo.
Punkaloovers, Foo-foo Dust, Scran, Banyans, Gizzits, Gripode, all of these things, you think, where the hell do all these words come from? Dobieing?
Yeah. And you could go ashore on these Banyans and they could cook up a real good feed, but nothing would come to the supreme pleasure of coming off watch, going to the naffy and getting yourself a pot noodle.
Actually, Mark, I have to disagree with you there. The best pleasure in life was when you were on the morning watch. So you'd come on duty at 4 o'clock in the morning, waiting for the galley to open.
Yeah.
Getting down and catching the old chefs in there and say, bacon sarnies for the bridge.
Yeah.
And they would knock up a load of bacon sarnies and you'd drag them up to the bridge and you'd have bacon sarnies up there on the bridge. Oh, that was ideal. That was bliss. Yes, I do thank our chefs and cooks for their incredible generosity.
We're talking about Banyans, don't you?
Yeah, sorry, but I was digressing. But we used to do that in exchange for things like getting them earlier in the queue for rad phones when we were down the Gulf and stuff like that. Yeah, we'll get you on the list, mate, and we'll get you a radio telephone call back to the UK.
Yeah.
If you look after us on the bridge.
Portishead Radio, mate.
But yeah, but Banyans, that's the only one I can really remember, mate. Back in Oman.
Well, for once, I've got better memories than you. I've got 3 others. One was Diego Garcia, and we had pulled up there on the Aurora. And of course, it's British, but it had been handed over to the Yanks, so they had this massive PX thing. But we had a Banyan on the beach there. It was hilarious. But this goes to show you've got to be careful of the pictures that are taken of you, because I remember acting drunk, and a guy poured a load of stuff down me on my T-shirt, and I had the photo taken, like, as though I was half comatose. And he said, no, do it from another angle. And weeks later, when they came back, they all thought I really was drunk. I thought, no, it was just play acting. But anyway, Diego Garcia, we had a Banyan somewhere in the Indian Ocean, and that's going to be the picture that is the thumbnail. Still got it, and you can see the Aurora in the background. I think it might be the Waikato, the New Zealand frigate. That would have been 82. Beautiful place. I have no idea where it was. And we got ashore, and there were some people living on the island, and they all disappeared. Someone saw them and said, oh, they've all ran in further inland into this little island.
Can you blame them?
No, I think it was on the way to Reunion. And the third was the north part of Australia between Oz and PNG, where we stopped off Stanley Island, I think it's called, and we went ashore. And I'm thinking back now, my God, the snakes that we could have found there, and the stuff that would just bite you. You wouldn't even know. And we were literally drunk on a beach. So that would have been dangerous. And that was really tropical, but again, prickly heat, not pleasant.
Well, you're right, Mark. Your memory is far better than mine when it comes to Banyans. Or maybe you just had the opportunity to get more under your belt.
I only remember the pleasurable things, Steve.
Yeah, there is that, mate. There is that. It's quite amazing, though, I think, that you can drop anchor, get a Liberty boat, set up a barbie on the middle of some outcrop in the middle of nowhere, and it's only you and the ship's company that are out there. It's really amazing. It just staggers me. I don't know. It just intrigues me that when you're a sailor and you can go around to all of these different places, that all it takes is for you to drop an anchor somewhere, get a boat across, and go and park up and have a good old knees up.
Did you ever go swimming off the side?
Yeah, I only did that once. I did it.
Yeah, I think I did it once.
I did it once, and I dived in, and I'm swimming out, and I turn around and I'm looking back up at the ship. And then I sort of spin and I'm looking around me, and it's beautifully calm, absolutely beautiful blue sea. But it gets darker and darker and darker as you look down into it. And I thought to myself, I actually really don't like this. That I am in the middle of an ocean, I've got nothing below my feet, and my ship is over there. And I don't know what's coming up from beneath out the deep. I don't like it. It made me feel really uncomfortable, being in the middle of nowhere and diving like that. So I only did it once. And then hands to bathe. I thought, nah, forget that, mate. Done it.
Because they put a boat out, weren't they, with guys on shark watch?
Yeah, so you'd have, on the bridge as well, you'd always have guys with, which was back in the day, it's with the SLRs. So they'd be up there with the SLRs on port and starboard bridge doing shark watch. And I was actually doing ship's hull diving. And you go down off a gantry, off a ladder, like, is that what they called a Jacob's ladder? Was it the one that hung down the rigid ladder?
Possibly.
You're asking the wrong man, aren't I? Anyway, the proper ladder that was fixed to the side where you dive from with your tanks and all the rest of it. And I was doing a hull search, and I got pulled up as I came back round again because there was a great big Nobby Clark floating around the ship at the same time as I was under there searching. So,
wow.
I mean, I didn't see it, but it was apparently sort of swimming around not too far from me. So they dragged me in and made me sit on the side for a while.
Yeah, that's the problem with the seas and a lot of places you went to. Got to be careful. I mean, there were nasties along those beaches quite regularly.
Well, you could look across the side of the ship as you were sailing through, especially in some of like the Indian Ocean or in some of those the Persian Gulf areas, and the size of the sea snakes.
Oh, no,
They were
yeah,
monstrous. They were, and they would swim along the side of the ship, and they were flipping huge things. Yeah, it always unsettled me a bit, mate. Being in the hands to bathe, didn't like it.
You did bring up something inadvertently that actually is probably worth talking about, although it wasn't planned, and that's the food. Because God bless, the cooks, that they, in really quite difficult circumstances, and I'm not talking about the subs, I'm just talking about the surface fleet here, some fantastic food. And I always remember stuff like babies' heads.
Yeah,
and, steak and kidney pies, oh, lovely.
Yeah, suet pud, wouldn't it? Like a suet topping. Nice and soft, just like a baby's head.
But the amount of food we ate was unbelievable when you think about it.
You were fed well. And like you, and I agree with you. The lads did a really good job in the galley, and it was only lads back in the day, and they did a really good job in the galley, and they turned out some good stuff, especially when supplies ran low, as they did on the Charybdis on my first Gulf deployment, and it nearly caused a flipping mutiny. Yeah, we ran out of food, basically. We ended up doing 69 days solid at sea. We got turned round. We were supposed to be heading to the Seychelles, and we got turned round and had to go back into the Gulf, and we pretty much ran out of food. And some of the food that they were turning up was not good, because there was nothing to give us. And a fella in front of me in the dining hall, whose name I shan't mention, he flipped his lid, and he was a big fella, and he flipped his lid, and not happy bunny. But yeah, with when you had supplies come on, that was really neat. One of the things that I liked when you turn up into different foreign ports is that you'd get the fresh fruit coming.
Not when it was Djibouti.
Well, maybe not on Djibouti, but other places you'd get fresh fruit come in, and that was always so nice. You get a proper apple, or a banana, or a grapefruit, or something, just proper fruit.
When we got to New Zealand on the Aurora, it was the only place we had to shut up all the fridges. And guys came on with biohazard checks, just making sure that we're not attempting to bring any food in. Still like that today, New Zealand.
Yeah, don't let a banana into the country, mate. They'll lock you up forever.
Yeah.
No, that's right. You can do all sorts of other things, but don't, whatever you do, bring a piece of fruit in. Yes. Oh, at least you got into New Zealand. They wouldn't let us in because we would neither confirm nor deny if we were carrying nuclear weapons.
Yeah, well, we, I said before, we was part of a goodwill tour. I don't think they could have turned us away. Yet, they did turn away the big aircraft carrier that was with us. That never got in, and I think that ended up going to Fiji. So we got in, great run ashore, Devonport. Ooh. They looked after us. That's not fond memories there. But yeah, you're absolutely right. But the food, I always thought was plentiful. I was always lucky. And on the Aurora, they were in the radio operators mess. So we had the ROs and we had the chefs, and we did very well. Yeah.
Oh gosh, I bet.
Good bunch of lads. Yeah.
So is that who you were mixed with on the Aurora? Was it? Because on the Charybdis, it was us and the Gollies, wasn't it? It was the EW ratings.
Yeah. I think every ship's different with the mix. It depends how many they're carrying, I guess, and where they can put them.
Yeah. So on the Cherry B, obviously, we were mixed with the Gollies. On the Manchester, the RO's mess was mixed with the seamen, the general duties lads, RPs and plotters and stuff like that. But I was actually up with the gunners.
I was with the stokers on the Brazen.
Yeah, I was up there with the gunners, which was really cool. I enjoyed my time up with those lads. So good. And then when they left, it was the Royal Marines who came on. So there was me down the mess deck with a load of bootnecks. Yeah, you only jack in the mess. and I've
heard stories about the bootnecks
and a load of old booties.
Yeah,
which was really good fun. They were a good bunch of lads. I enjoyed working with them.
Just back to the food, one of the best memories I ever had with the Navy was pot mess. I used to love pot mess. Fantastic cook-up food, especially when you've been yomping. But I've never been able to reenact it. God knows what they put in it, whether it's a standard thing, but I think they just threw anything in, didn't they?
Everything that was left over, pretty much.
Yeah, but it all tasted nice.
Yeah. Oh, they could knock up some nice food. They really could. And you used to have 4 o'clockers as well, didn't you?
Yes. Yeah.
Do you remember 4 o'clockers?
Yeah, some dainty cake or sandwich or sausage roll or something like that.
And sometimes you'd have some good stuff out for 4 o'clockers, and they'd make some good fruit cake as well.
Yes, they do that. Yeah, all handmade. If you got it right when you came back from ashore and you were starving, you could go into the galley and make yourself some toast.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, go and raid the galley, get the sun blessed out.
Yeah, and there was little Vegemite or Marmite pots as well, and there was and I shouldn't say this. Do I admit this? Yes, why not? I remember once coming back, and I can't remember who it was with, but I'm sure it was on the Charybdis. Paul Kelsall, I think. I might be wrong. I tell you where it was. It's Alexandria.
Oh, right.
And we'd been drinking. We came back, and the food weren't great. We came on to the ship. We're so hungry. We was just getting the tomato ketchup and the mustard and just squeezing it into our mouths, and it became a game. And I hate to think, it's a bit like Dumb and Dumber when they filmed that. Yeah. We're starving. Couldn't get anything else. Nightmare. It is sad.
Nightmare. Yeah.
That set a trajectory that I followed pretty much for years afterwards.
Oh, mate. Hey, look, it was all good fun. It was all done in good
40
spirits.
years ago. Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's a long time ago now, Mark. It's a bit rude, isn't it?
Bloody is.
Time's gone way too quickly.
Who knew that time was so devastating at times?
And just how much things have changed. I mean, when I look at the modern day warships as well, with all of because there's no 90-degree angles on the infrastructure, is there?
There's no wastes anymore.
No, well, it's all to reduce and to change the radar picture. So the radar signal doesn't come back in the same way. And they've also, at least I'm presuming they have, all of the paint will be radar absorbent as well. Whereas before, if you remember when we'd go down the Gulf, we'd have to put up the RAM mats. Do you remember the RAM mats? Radar absorbent material matting?
Yes.
That you'd hang on the side of the ship?
Yes.
You'd hang it. You don't remember, do you?
No.
So you'd hang these mats on the side of the ship to break up the radar signature of the ship, so it didn't look like a warship.
Oh yes, I do. Yeah, I do remember now.
Yeah. You could have got away with it if you hadn't shortened.
All right. I've just flicked you a picture, by the way. I don't know if you've seen it. The USS Zumwalt. The shape of that
is that real?
That is real. They did two, but they're decommissioning. For some reason, they didn't catch on. But massive ships. And they were trying to cut down the radar signature, weren't they? So
that can't be real, surely.
Yeah, look it up. USS Zumwalt. And it had a more bizarre looking... I can't remember the name of the ship. Hang on. We've gone way off.
I know we have. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
And it was the Zumwalt class. And they spent a lot of money. There was the Michael Monsell and the Lyndon B. Johnson, which is currently in sea trial. So, but they said they don't want to build any more.
They shouldn't build it because it's ugly.
Well, as long as
it doesn't even look like a warship. It doesn't look like a warship, for goodness sake.
Yeah, but you look at the new ships, right? The HMS Daring, and it's got this huge, almost like pyramid. Yeah. There's nothing like what we had.
Not like proper warships, mate.
Well, exactly.
Back in the day.
Now? But this is the thing. Time has moved on. Technology has moved on. So
it really has, isn't it? Yeah. That's so ugly, that American ship. I don't like it.
But the only thing I would worry about with the modern ships is that they're restricted where you can get out and get some fresh air. They're almost becoming totally enclosed. You can only go on the flight deck, and that's not always.
Well, they're a bit like flipping surface subs.
Yes,
aren't they?
Yeah.
They're so enclosed. Everything is so enclosed there. I mean, one of the beautiful things about being on a warship when we served was that we were up on the bridge, and so we could pop out on the bridge wing. We could look up at the stars. We could go up to the signal deck. We could do all sorts of things, and you also had the ability to train as well. I mean, I used to run round the ship, down the waist, port and starboard waist, and through the flight deck, and you'd be able to run and. You can't do that here. That's nonsense.
Yeah, there is that. So they must have some kind of thing that they do. Must let everybody out onto the flight deck at certain times. But it's like being released from prison, isn't it?
Yeah, get out of your lockdown.
Yeah,
come out.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons I never wanted to become a submariner.
Well, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Why on earth would you want to do that? That's just horrible. Just horrible.
So we originally started off with Banyans. We got onto ship design.
And
food.
Via food, yeah.
What we're going to call this one then? A rant.
You always get onto ship design via food, Mark. You know the drill.
Yeah, we've done it before, haven't we? Yeah.
Yeah, food always comes before ship designs. But anyway, there we go. Good memories, though, mate. Good memories.
As always.
I'll catch you later.
Take care.
Ta-da. Bye.